So good evening, everybody, and welcome to the next VIP session related to Module 3. Module 3, that concept of ego, separation, isolation, crazy monkey stories in our mind. So let's do a bit of a check-in, ladies, from last week of the module. Anything that was a takeaway or that you've applied or you reflected on or something like that, if someone would like to share, that'd be awesome. Anyone going to start? Just unmute yourself, that would be great.
I'll start, Jean. It's Melissa. I was absent last week with retarded sleep patterns, so I'm glad to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, darling. We really appreciate it because of your shift work and everything. So thank you. Let's go, Bonnie. I'll just go through the list and you can say pass or you can share.
Hi, I actually missed last week's as well because I just had a bit going on at home, and I've only gotten halfway through that webinar, so I've got to go and finish it off.
That's okay. That's totally fine. Totally fine. Let's go to Mandy. You're the next person.
Hello. So I was on last week, and it was good. And I can't remember what happened last week. So yeah.
Awesome. Just as a refresher, last week was all about perception, and was all about what we focus on is what we get, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. Ask, you should receive. It was very much on the perception side.
Now that you've said that, I remember that.
Awesome. Awesome. So any takeaways at all, Mandy, from that?
Not at this stage.
No problem.
Because there's a lot going on, so I'm finding it a bit hard to sort of separate it.
That's fine. Totally fine.
Thank you.
Let's go to Nat. Any takeaways from last week, darling?
When Mandy just said that before, I was like, "Ooh, me too." I couldn't actually remember.
Yes.
Last week, it all feels like everything's just gone into like one big pool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm not that sure.
That's okay, ladies.
Yeah, I'm not that sure at the moment. Yeah.
I will give you a clue. Module 3 is scrambled eggs in your head. So a lot of you are going to go, where am I? What's going on? So Nat, you're fine. You're totally fine. Rochelle,
that makes so much sense.
Let's go to Rochelle. What about you, darling? Because you might have an insight or a reflection or something.
Hi, Jean. Yeah, last week, like halfway through, my light flickered off and it actually went off and I went to sleep for about half an hour. I know.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I went to sleep before I actually went to sleep I was a bit the same too, like going into, from that point going into this week, everything's just sort of like whizzing around and sort of bringing everything just together and seeing things from a different perspective, especially when it's coming to with the focus. I'm finding this week it's kind of all glued together, so I feel a lot better the start of the week, but as the week's coming on, it's just to keep focusing on exactly what I want. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, darling. And Sam, what about you?
I think I have scrambled brains as well, but if I reflect back to what was happening last week for me,
yes,
it's a good reminder. It was a good reminder for me to where I'm up to. So you know, as in the perception of what things were.
Yes.
For me, right at that time, to what the perception is now. So, yeah, I haven't even thought about it until you've just asked that question.
No problems. And ladies, you're doing awesome, because you might listen back to this webinar and go, oh my lordy, we don't remember anything. How are we going to go on module 3? First time repeating, whatever it is. It's part of module 3. Plus, I'm taking you, people don't realize that as I take you through this journey, this is what happened to my brain. My brain thought that Jean Sheehan was blue with pink spots, for example. And then when I had my awakening, it was like, what? It was almost like having a lobotomy. If you've ever read the book or seen the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or seen anything about lobotomies or whatever from the past, it's just like you've just removed the whole brain and the stories, and it's, what? Who am I? What am I? What? And so this is part of it. So please just congratulate yourself for just being here. That's perfect in itself. And also just to know that some of you are doing a lot of study with me from module 7, medical astrology, mentoring, all sorts of things, that there's a lot going on. Plus we've got 3 retrogrades last week that are all about reflect and review. And so your brain will be scrambled eggs, knowing that I align everything to retrogrades, moon cycles, etc. So it's all perfect timing. So just breathe. And just go with the flow, and whatever comes up is perfect. Take notes if you want to, or just listen. If you fall asleep, fine. You're still getting the healing processes behind the scenes. And knowing that you can go back and listen. The advantage of going online is you go back and listen to these whenever you would like to before the cutoff date. So I'm going to take you back to one of the things that was said last week. And what was said last week was, what you think, you create. What you feel, you create. What you imagine, you believe. This week, I'm going to talk slower, because your brains are now scrambled eggs, because there's new neural pathways, because you might have missed out on the webinar last week. Doesn't really matter whatever the reason or meaning it is. We're just going to take it slower, because part of module 3 is to rebuild that nervous system, rebuild through new brain synapses to new stories. And in module 3 this weekend, we'll go through the crystal gridding and blueprint. What you think, you create. So all the way through from module 1 or any other courses that you've done with me, I say we design, create, and manifest our life. That can be extremely challenging, especially when things are not going right or our way. How the hell is that right for me? How does that work? Why isn't this going right? What's going on? Somewhere we like the connection to third world drama. That third world drama is third dimension. What you think you create, sometimes we don't understand that we're even thinking it. It's unconscious, and that's why in module 1 we try the stories. Look for the story. On medical astrology, everything's a mirror image. Our personality is based in body consciousness. Or in medical intuition for animals in September, it's not the animal, it's you. What you think you create, and if we can't see it, it's in the animal. What I think I create. So if I constantly think, I've got no money, I've got no money, I've got no money, congratulations. What you feel. We forget that in feelings, we can change the feelings instantly, and yet we're taught, don't hurt my feelings. But no one hurts our feelings. We have feelings and we can change them instantly. Just like in module 2, when we had the money stories. And I got you to say the money stories and you could feel the emotions and the feelings and the thinking from you, and your mum didn't buy you and your dad bought this and he didn't give you that, and whatever the story was. But as soon as you change the story into Mickey Mouse, or said the story really slowly, you change the feeling. So what you feel, you create. Children know this. They can instantly feel sad or instantly happy. I'll give you an example. As soon as little Frank hurts his finger, I grab his hand. I say, Mummy, kiss it better. I kiss his hand. Boom. He's all better. How does that happen? And that little hand, by the way, he has smashed every bone in his hand. But Mummy kissed it better. What you think, you create. So why do we forget? Why not remember? When I had the awakening process, it was about me remembering. What I thought, I create. As soon as I thought, this is going to be an awful dinner party, congratulations, it was awful. Hence why at the beginning of the courses I say to you, please set your intention, not attention. What do you want from the course? Because you design it. What you feel, you create. I can instantly put myself in depression, slouch my shoulders over, slump my body over, think about something really bad, painful and horrible, boom, I'm in depression. Or if I go into a sad space, acknowledge it, tap and breathe, go for the story, and then, boom, I can actually focus on something else and feel something else, and I create it. What you imagine, you believe. But you see, there's no imagination, and that was something that I noticed in my awakening. No imagination at all. Why? It's reality. But what reality? Just like Einstein in your Module 1 books, what reality equals MC squared? Emotions. Emotions, energy in motion. Is it imagination? When I get a thinking thing of, Tony's mum, my husband's mum, is going to ring in a moment and she's going to ask what sort of roast he wants. What happens? 5 minutes later, my mother-in-law rings and says, what roast do you want? Where does that come from? If we imagine it in reality and quantum reality, we believe it because it is our truth of where we are. What if that belief isn't real? They've done studies on twins who've had exactly the same upbringing. One twin said, oh my gosh, Mum and Dad loved us. They took us out. They just spent so much time with us. They were there for everything. The other twin, Mum and Dad were never there. What you imagine, you believe. And I have a client who's a twin and been with me many years. She stays connected with me knowing that I don't do sessions anymore, but she orders essences. When you listen to her story, her dad didn't love her, gave everything to the sister. The sister was smarter, better, prettier. They're identical twins. How could she be prettier? What you imagine, you believe, and she believes that. She's allowed it to lock into her patterning of who she is. Where have you done that for you? What you think, you create. And yet what I think, you know what? It will always work out. I'll give an example. I was thinking earlier this year, I need more technology. I love technology. I love being a star child with technology. I'd like a a little iPad. I've seen them. I've got a bigger iPad. And then I'm talking to someone. I said, what's that? What size is it? Can you measure it? Over the phone or over Skype or over something. I can't remember what I was talking about. And she said, it's this and this. I tell my husband, what you imagine, you believe, what you think, you create, what you feel, you create. I could feel me having that with a matching case to match all my other computer cases, which the theme is all rose gold. I could imagine it. Can you hear the excitement like a child? And I was thinking, yeah, I'll have one of those. And I imagined it. And I told my husband, he said, is this what you mean? I can buy it online for you. What's your credit card? I had it. I got it. Or just recently, my beautiful Fitbit that I bought 2 years ago, it's starting to die. And I've been looking at Fitbits or Apple Watches and going, I want something. And I want something to look nice. My Fitbit is just a daggy old Fitbit. I didn't even know what a Fitbit was when I bought it. And I thought, I want something with style. What you think you create. And then what I created was one of my clients showed me on a photo in Facebook Messenger, a photo of her Fitbit. I thought it was an Apple Watch. I said, is that an Apple Watch? No, it's a Fitbit. Why'd you choose that? Well, the man at Telstra said that Fitbit's better. But then I was speaking to somebody else and she said that she had acquired an Apple Watch. And I went, really? That's what I'm looking at. What you think you create. So I started creating people around me within 24 hours of thinking I want a new watch, Fitbit, Apple Watch, something or other. What you feel, you create. And I could feel myself with that watch. I can feel it looking like a watch. What you imagine, you believe. And I imagined it and I could imagine it on my wrist and I believed it and it will happen. And that's part of the new awakening. Part of the perception. And yet we can do the same and the opposite. And what you think, oh yeah, I always have relationship problems. What you feel, and you'll start to feel it, yep, there's that relationship problem. You imagine it, you believe it, and guess what? You just created it. Congratulations. So where am I leading to with this? Why is this relevant to anything? You see, last week I talked about perception. Some people talk about, oh my God, your third eye is closed. Can't be closed. That's just a perception in itself. But sometimes in our perception, things look different. As this meme says, this is why you should see things from all sides. And when you work with the 10-point Merkaba, you will actually get to see things from 13 aspects or houses. 13, the number of the genius. And when we see things from all sides, especially in Module 3 and ego and duality, we see the good and the bad. We saw all aspects and go, interesting. Sometimes that can be confusing and overwhelming, and especially if you've got a butterfly syndrome where you go, oh, look at that, oh, look at that, oh, look at that, or can't focus. But when you look at things from both sides or all sides, you can see both sides of the twin story. Yeah, Dad was an arsehole. He used to stick his finger up at everyone. Or the other twin. Dad was beautiful. He connected with everyone. He counted on his fingers. He didn't care that people saw him count on his fingers. Interesting. Yes, my brain started to rewire, almost like having a stroke. And that's what it felt like. This extreme headache, which I call a migraine to everyone else, but it was a download. It was like I was being recalibrated. And this is what happens on Module 3. I started to understand a new way. I started to understand what success was. Because prior to that, I thought I was unsuccessful, hopeless. I started to understand successful people love what unsuccessful people hate. And what I mean by that is if I really want to do this business, as I had my awakening, it was like, no, your choice is you have to do this. You have to share, you have to come out of the closet. You'll let your nursing registration go. You'll clean factory toilets, because that's the job that I found. I've seen lots of things done with excrement, urine, vomit, feces, sweat, spew, everything. When I cleaned the factory toilets, I went, what? These people are healthy. What the hell are they doing with their poo and everything else? I go into the ladies' toilets and they couldn't even wrap up their tampons or pads properly. They're lying on the floor. Successful people love what unsuccessful people hate. As my brain rewired, I rewired how I would focus on this. Instead of going into judgment, I saw the opportunity. I saw the genius factor. And I went, oh, wait on. If I clean this up, I'm really cleaning up myself. And so with the Discman, we didn't have iPads, iPods, iPhones back then. So with a Discman, I put the music on to ABBA, Dancing Queen. I found myself rubber gloves that had white feathery ends. I put my headphones on and I sang all the way, cleaning that crap off toilets, around the toilet seats, in the bathrooms. Successful people love what unsuccessful people hate. I was a success because I saw the bonus of everything. Unsuccessful people, they were the ones that didn't see the bonus. And then I had a flashback to Shaky Billy. When I was homeless, I got a job in an orange juice factory. And my job was to load up clean plastic bottles from the box, put them on the conveyor belt for them to get washed, dried, filled up with orange juice, and then put through the pasteurizer to bake and homogenized. And Shaky Billy was at the other end of the homogenizer and pasteurizer. It was hot and sweaty at the end. And they called him Shaky Billy because he had the shakes. He must have only been about 30 years old, but he loved his job. Very uneducated, and by human terms, very ugly and weird. But I suddenly got a flashback and I went, oh my gosh, Shaky Billy. Successful people love what unsuccessful people hate. Other people wouldn't do what Shaky Billy did. He stood there for hours and hours and hours at the end of the pasteurizer, which was hot, smelly, dirty. Sometimes he had to climb in and get the bottles that were stuck. If any of the machinery was stuck, there was an emergency button and Shaky Billy was the one to the rescue, a hero. Whereas all the other people just stood there and they didn't want to get dirty. Successful people love what unsuccessful people hate. And that taught me, get in and do the work. Get in and see the best. So, for example, starting my business, I was the bookkeeper, I was the cleaner, I was the tax person, I was the only one setting up the courses, I was everything. But I didn't see it as unsuccessful. I saw that I was being of service. I saw the bigger picture. And in your Module 3 books, I share with you something that I wrote in my journals. In love with yourself. It is impossible to define what is you and where the energy of you and others begin. If you could see that, there would be no fighting, hunger, pain, or fear. This is not a reality yet because as human society, we're on a journey of self-discovery and evolution. Humans have difficulty loving themselves. It is the lack of complete whole love that is making us blind, the lack of absolute love. Loving yourself goes beyond loving the body, mind, spirit. It can only exist in the understanding that the self is boundless and not separate. Because when I cleaned their toilets, I was cleaning them for me. When you win the lotto, I win the lotto. When my dog misbehaves, it is me. When I'm working with the animals on medical intuitive sessions, like with the horses at the moment, it's their owner. It's not the animal. You may have worked on yourself as a person and on non-judgment. Can you really say you never go into fear or negativity when it comes to others, situations, or the world? If not, you're still evolving from the third dimension reality, which is separate from the truth of self-love. Now is the time to lift the veil of illusion and see how divine you are, to see all of you again as you were once created. And do I still play the game of third dimension? Yes. Is it less? Yes. Do I mirror everything and see the mirror? Yes. When you're in pain, reality is no longer perfect, or so it seems. It suddenly feels very dual because all of your prior wishes, wants, and desires are replaced by you wanting the pain gone. You want to release it. What many do not realize is that it's a choice to play the game of illusion, such as pain and disease and disharmony. The fear, sadness, or disease are a reminder of that duality world. And that duality is where we're separate from everything, the oneness. And there's an attractive part of that duality world because we get to experience good and bad. When you feel the good, everything is amazing, harmonious, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm on top of the world. But bad feelings are created by separation, known as ego. This is programmed by the mind and will destroy your personality. When you allow divinity back into your life, by listening to your heart, not your head, you recall good is not happiness either. It too hurts in subtle ways. That's part of sacred geometry. Back in module 1, where I explain positive high, positive low. Sometimes we think we have to be happy all the time, but in the organ of the heart, you have two emotions, joy and sadness. And part of this was to learn I need to be neutral in 0 point. It was the understanding of intuition is knowledge. No logic, no reason. That intuition was intuition, inside education. The concept that I create my world. But we can accept that in the third dimension if everything is going my way. However, if the world is going traumatic, even by that thought, we want to blame outside. But when you give it meaning, what you do is you create a separateness. When you give meaning to your suffering and tell yourself, okay, it's acceptable. And part of module 3, an ego, that's not taught in the classes. But this was in my Jean Sheen book and I deleted it, was the understanding that our world works on, if you give it meaning or give your suffering meaning, you make yourself acceptable. You see, I can't do that because I was homeless. I can't do that because I'm Greek Arabic. I can't do that because I can't read English or write it. English is my third language. But really, the awakening is understanding that intuition, inside education, is knowledge. No reason, justification, explanation. In the third dimension, we play it all the time, and especially those in the spiritual game. If I'm meant to be on that Gene Sheen course, the money will turn up. In actual fact, we create our own world by what we think and believe. Once there was a belief that there was a point to hardship, and people would say it. People would compare. I had to work hard for that. Oh, congratulations. You know, she had to work hard for that. To evolve is to transform. It's the next step to understanding true empowerment from within to without. This is a bit tricky at this stage of our consciousness. Why? Because we still love the duality. We still don't understand I am you, you are me, and yet you learn it in module 1, day 1, on hands-on healing. If I do a session on you, it is me. On an ascension level, some people would have you believe that the world is dying, especially at the moment. It's all doom and gloom. And yet, we're here to celebrate. We design, we create, and we manifest. Awakening is opening up the heart to realize that we are absolute love. This has been taught in all the ancient books, Book of Enoch, Course of Miracle, the Bible, Quran, the Torah, all of it. As I started to understand this on a really heartfelt level and apply it, I understood I am not responsible for another person's struggle. I can only be a friend. As I started to understand that they are where they are at, she is where she is at, he is where he is at, I don't have to do anything. It allowed me to step away, allowed me to understand everything is perfect. For I used to always be the rescuer. When I was nursing, it was always me that found the patient on the floor and had to rescue. It was me that would be the first one at the car accident and have to resuscitate people. I am not responsible for another person's struggle. And yet partly I blame myself as I remembered some of this information as a kid. I used to think it was my fault that people were doing the way they were doing. Even at 16, I thought it was my fault that my mum died. I can only be a friend. But to be a friend is not to be responsible or do everything, because that cripples people. To be a friend is to lend a hand and say, come on this journey, let me uplift you. And that's shared in your Module 3 book when we talk about Miranda and her mum. Life is a gymnasium for the soul. I started to get a workout mentally, emotionally, physically, chemically. If I think back to what a gymnasium was back at school, jumping over horses, ropes, running, all sorts of things. High beams, low beams. Part of life was to trial things, see what I could do, see how to do it in a different way, be flexible. Procrastination is the thief of time. part of this was understanding that just do it. Just be it. What are you waiting for? As the headache started to ease, I reflected back on all the times that I wanted to do this sort of work and leave nursing. I thought I've blamed my husband every time, or the army, because the army would move us all the time. I blamed that I had a son that was in and out of hospital for 3 years. I had to be there for him. I blamed everything, but really it was just procrastination. Now was the time. And as I reflected, I went through the final death of ego, the final death of separation. And what I did was I had an actual funeral service for myself. My closest girlfriend flew over from Perth. I created a letter and I sent it to certain people to come and celebrate the end. My husband thought I was a nutbag. Absolutely thought I'd gone troppo. And we did it at the National Forest at Noosa. I organised for 2 doves to be released. I had a girlfriend who was a celebrant who did a goodbye ceremony. Somewhere I knew, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to do it. And as she said goodbye, and everybody said goodbye, the doves were released. I started to cry. And I suddenly realized what a wonderful life I have had. I only wished I'd realized it sooner. And yet we have this awakening when we go to funerals. We look back and think, oh, if only. But we never continue to create the new. If we all stopped, and especially at the moment with what's happening in the world, and said, wait, why didn't I realize how wonderful life was? What else can I create? And it's from that moment I decided to be the hero of my own story. For I had a blank canvas, just like written in the front of your module books, to rewrite my story so that I was the hero. It was about me making sure I saw the best in myself. Did anyone else need to know? Not at all. I needed to. To see the best of myself, I looked at, wow, look at all the things that you experienced when you were younger. What would be called now domestic violence and violence at home, but yet I never got taught that. I didn't understand it. I coped really well. No counselling, no guidance. Look at all the things that you've experienced. The bullying, being raped, being homeless. Make yourself the hero rather than feeling embarrassed. See how you've done extraordinarily well and by yourself. And it was a learning that if we choose to be the hero of our story, we wouldn't bag ourselves out and say, geez, I'm dumb. Oh, I'm an idiot. Look what I always create. When we're the hero of our story, it might be like module 2, looking past and giving a smile to someone walking past. Take a moment now. Take a big breath in and breathe all the way out. And I want you to think of a time where you are the hero of your story. And just going silent for a moment. I want you to feel the hero, sense the hero, see the hero. How are you that hero? List 3 ways to yourself. If you saw someone else do what you've been through, what would you say? How would you admire them? Now do that for yourself. Again, taking a big breath in. And breathe all the way out. You see, everything is perception. Everything is reality. Whatever reality you make it. I want you just to sit in a different position or lie in a different position. Because now you're going to see things that are going to freak you out. What I mean by that? Well, because as I had the awakening and I was able to get off that bathroom floor, I looked at the world as though I had been rebirthed and I could see the best in everything. And yet, it was exactly the same. Just like these words. Same letters, but different word. Dormitory, dirty room. Presbyterian, best in prayer. Astronomer, moonstar. Desperation, a rope ends it. The eyes, they see. George Bush, he bugs gone. The Morse code, here come dots. Slot machines, cash lost in me. And so the list goes on. What? Is this the new awakening? Is this the new millennium? Are we all going to play this way? It didn't make sense, but then it did make sense. I remembered it as a child. We used to do this. I used to do it. You'd see one thing, but see all aspects. So take another big breath in again. Breathe all the way out. All of this beautiful ancient wisdom is what we tried to do in Atlantis, Lemuria, Egypt, medieval days. But it's now that we have the true millennium awakening. Millennium meaning the eye of Horus or the eye of all oneness. In this millennium from 1999 to 2999, wake up, wake up, wake up. Don't see slot machines. See cash lost in me. Don't see snooze alarms. See, alas, no more Zs. Don't see a decimal point. See, I'm a dot in a place. Don't see earthquake. See that queer shake. See the real beginning. So again, just taking a breath, breathing all the way out. Knowing that when you hear this, I've never shared it with other people. It was the Jean Shen book that was deleted from the book. and from my old computer. The awakening to the new millennium. So when you're doing the courses, you're actually changing and recalibrating, changing blueprint back to its original form. So if anybody's got questions, if they just want to, or insights, if they want to unmute yourself, please do by all means. It will be recorded, so that way other people can hear it, because we've got some people that could not attend tonight. So I'll start through the list. Bonnie, do you want to share anything?
I'm good, thanks, Jean.
Thank you, Bonnie. Katrina?
Hi, Jane. Yeah, it's just interesting that through the process, I'm starting to change how I see those old stories already, and that is having an effect on how I feel and what is actually happening in my life. So, yeah, it's just confirmation that, yeah, it's happening.
Beautiful. Thank you. Let's go to Mandy.
Thank you, Jean. I'm still just sort of processing it all, to be honest. It's, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, darling. Melissa?
Thank you. I don't have anything to share.
Thank you, Nat.
I don't really have anything to share either.
Awesome. Thank you, darling. Rochelle?
Hi, Jane. Yeah, I really resonated with being the hero of like my own story. I was at the lights the other night, and I had a bit of a flashback to just in times when, you know, when I looking back, it was quite a difficult time, and in that instance, I saw the other side of just flipping it, and saw that at that time in the night, she said, like, oh wow, you know, I am strong, I am beautiful, and I am resilient.
Yes.
Just in that point, yeah. So it was just, you know, seeing that at that time. I couldn't see it then, but I see my life totally different now, going through all the mods last year and coming into repeating this year, just seeing different layers, and it's really beautiful. I'm feeling in a really good space. I'm really looking forward to the weekend.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Sam, what about you?
Hey, Jane. I when you said that you had that process of saying goodbye,
Yes.
and I felt really emotional with it.
Yeah. Thank you. Because what happens on Module 3, behind the scenes, there is a death process that occurs. It starts in Module 2 when I teach you the basic grid. There is a death, and like an ego death. And then the finish is 3. And that's why I say to people, you will know whether you're ready for Module 4. Not a lot of people are ready for Module 4. They do 1, 2, and 3, but they don't finish 4. There's something they still need to play and experience in the duality, third dimension realm. When we let go of that duality and go, I'm prepared to see all aspects of life, which is the number 13 on the Millennium Grid, we go, right, I'm ready for Module 4. Module 4 is forgiveness, which is stop making something perfect wrong and really understanding the big picture of telepathic, teleporting, etc. So thank you, Sam. just thank you to all of you as well. A huge, massive thank you for getting all your grids in time. These are actually grids from Medical Astrology, but all of your grids have been downloaded, placed, been printed, and are ready for the grid on Saturday. So when you start on Saturday, we'll do a check-in, just like one of the courses, so checking in, all of that sort of thing. We'll go straight into a meditation, straight into a meditation, but the meditation will have your grids around them so that you're feeling the energy. And those that did the Medical Astrology course recently could actually feel the grid. So the grid is up already, so that it's brewing and cooking and ready. So just be aware of that. But yeah, I just really want to say thank you for getting those images in really early, just so we can be organised from an administration point of view for you. And I'm just getting the picture of the grid up for you so that you can see, which I put a post in earlier today. Your grid is already on beautiful gold material, and I made the image 3D. Can you see it's actually moving? I'm not doing anything with the mouse, but can you all see that it's moving on the screen?
Yeah.
Spacey, I just love it. Just love it. And the cleaner came today, and she saw it on the ground in the office, and she went, "Oh, that's beautiful." Now, she's not into any of my work at all. She doesn't even understand what I do. And I had someone come to pick up something urgent for a child. And I said, just come to the office door. I don't normally do pickups. They usually post it out, but just come. And she just said, I could feel something from outside in the car park. It was amazing. So this is already starting to brew. Oh, it's the fact that it's moving. It's incredible. So your grids will be placed there in the morning. Once I start with all of you, I'll place them down, and you'll be in the grid with your grids as well. So thank you very, very much for all of that as well. On that note, it's